Subtropical storm Alberto continues towards the coastline of the Florida Panhandle. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on the tropics. By the way, I apologize. There was an update yesterday posted. However, the audio was not in order, and so all it was a video without audio, and was promptly removed. Nonetheless, we're back up tonight as we watch Alberto, stronger than it has been any time during its duration. Now a 65-mile-an-hour subtropical storm. Doesn't look like it's going to become tropical. As you can see, there's very little deep thunderstorms near the center, and that is what you need for a tropical cyclone. We'll talk about that in the latest on Alberto in this update. Now here's the latest as of 10 p.m. Eastern. It was at 28.5 north, 85.8 west. Winds again were 65 miles per hour. Could gust to hurricane strength, potentially, with winds of 65 sustained. Moving northwest at 9, so not very rapidly, 991 millibars on that pressure. And you can see the forecast track here through time has it making landfall sometime in, say, Monday morning, maybe Monday afternoon, depending on the speed of motion and depending on the angle at the coastline. It could still make landfall anywhere from Pensacola back over to Panama City, but it's not a very broad track, and that's why we only have the tropical storm warnings now from the Suwannee River on over to the Alabama-Mississippi border, with the expectation that Louisiana will probably get off okay with this one. But again, it's still over water, so time will tell. After Wednesday, it's going to start to accelerate, but still be all the way up over Lake Huron by Friday morning as a post-tropical system. In fact, it's never going to be tropical if it doesn't do so in the next few hours. Again, there's the computer model guidance, which is very tightly clustered on the Florida Panhandle and is just a little bit to the east of the present direction that is taking to the northwest. So again, it looks like landfall will probably occur somewhere in the general vicinity of, say, Fort Walton Beach, perhaps, Panama City, somewhere in the Panhandle there. And the storm surge heights in this area, this is a vulnerable surge area in the Florida Panhandle. Even with a weak subtropical storm, you can get good water rises, so you got to be very careful. But of course, the big threat will be rainfall, much of which has already fallen and is continuing to fall at this hour. As far as the winds, again, a 65-mile-an-hour subtropical storm is still a powerful subtropical storm. It's on the leading edge, just under hurricane strength, so any gusty wind arrival is likely to occur later in the next couple of hours, in through Memorial Day and into the night. So I'm sorry, Memorial Day plans are probably going to be scrapped if you're in the Florida Panhandle on up through areas of western Georgia and most of Alabama. Again, Louisiana, you might just escape it and potentially even see a nice day, especially if you get some dry air, and that makes stable conditions on the western side of the circulation. Here's the latest Northwest Florida radar. You can see Panama City right about here, Pensacola right about here, and it does look like it's headed in the general direction of Panama City, perhaps a little bit off towards the west of that. And again, we could see wobbles as the center spirals on in, but it's a moot point. It's not like we have an eye wall or a powerful hurricane or anything like that, but we do have some good banding here on the northeast side of the circulation center, and that's bringing in more rainfall towards the Florida Panhandle. Tallahassee, you're about to get hit probably around midnight with some good storms. Perry as well. Of course, up near Montgomery, Columbus, areas of Monroeville, throughout areas of Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, you guys are just going to get drenched with heavy rain. And when I say heavy rain, I mean heavy rain. This is through the next 7 days out of the prediction center. You can see in the Panhandle here, we're talking potentially up to 7 to 10 inches and maybe even higher in local amounts. But again, if you're in Louisiana, you might get less than half an inch. But just a little deviation in its track, and that makes a huge difference. That's a gradient. That's what they call it. We have a very tight rain gradient with this subtropical cyclone, and that's why areas of the Panhandle can get drenched and areas of western Louisiana could have absolutely no rain at all. However, if it moves just a little bit more towards, say, the Alabama coastline, that could put you into heavier rainfall throughout the state of Louisiana. So, Louisiana, Mississippi, you guys are going to get some rain, but not nearly what they're going to get up through areas of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, into Tennessee. And again, this is going to continue all the way up into the Ohio Valley and beyond as the week wears on, as Alberto moves on off towards the north eventually. Now, when we look at the infrared satellite imagery, it's not very impressive at all. You can see a little bit of thunderstorm activity. That was that radar echo showing up of the rainfall on the right side of the circulation. That's about it. Look at all this dry air eating its way out of Alberto, and a lot of the high cloud and the heavier rainfall is well displaced from the center, which is why this never became a tropical cyclone and never consolidated. It looked like it might do that earlier on Sunday, but that failed to materialize, thankfully. Also note this cloud here kind of shutting in towards the system. That's wind shear that is very unfavorable for development. And when we look at the water vapor imagery, you can see this even better. Look at how dry this system is around the circulation center. This should all be moist air. Look at this brown dry air just sucking right into Alberto. And then again, you can see that even better, the flattening on the western side. This is definitely not a tropical cyclone. It is subtropical, but it is a storm that we're going to deal with as it makes a landfall along the panhandle in the next 12 to 24 hours. And again, heavy rainfall is occurring in the more moist environment on-off on the north and eastern side. The shear map, you can see, perfect example. It's right on the edge of very low wind shear, extremely low over the center, but very, very high wind shear blowing straight in from the west of 30 knots, maybe more. Look at over Texas here. I believe, unless I'm misreading this, this is 60 knots of wind shear. This is all extremely unfavorable for tropical cyclone development, and it is decapitating Alberto as he moves towards the Florida Panhandle, not allowing him to become tropical, not allowing him to become a hurricane, and certainly not a stronger hurricane. But again, it's the end of May. If this was, say, August, it'd be a whole different ball game. So again, we're going to watch this because it's still a lot of moisture, and with these northeasterly winds here blowing the moisture off, you could get even heavier rain amounts throughout Georgia and possibly even into the Carolinas if the rain shield makes it that far north. So we're going to watch this very carefully. Again, Alberto is a subtropical cyclone, not tropical, but tropical storm warnings are in effect throughout the Florida Panhandle on over to the Alabama coastline. We have storm surge advisories with the expectation of high water rises. It's going to be a rocky Memorial Day for the Gulf Coast as a rare May cyclone comes in from the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea and makes landfall in the next 12 to 24 hours in the form of subtropical storm Alberto. I'm Mike Naso. I'll see you next time.